Oh yeah, Zucksbucks. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, apparently my idea was to kill it after 1 week, but then some people started to create a Twitter profile to launch a real airdrop, and so I decided not to. I mean, to let the kids play, and so it's
Yeah.
still alive.
Well, I didn't really want to talk about Hex, but now that we're talking about Zucks, um, isn't it isn't it crazy how he was able to pump that thing and fool
Well,
so many people, fool that this is some futuristic decentralized technology better than Bitcoin.
but not that crazy in the context. I see. I mean, the context is the same context in which one guy started with a shitcoin joke, pretty much like Zuckbucks, and it was a few years ago, Dogecoin. And now there is people who are basically throwing life saving in Dogecoin because the market is pumping it. And that guy Jackson is actually he was pretty much anti-market and anti-capitalist. So he was super pissed that people was making money and losing money with a joke. But this is the power of these so-called tokens. When you create, when there is a huge information asymmetry about the new technology, so that people don't really know what they are talking about. You have traders discussing the adoption of Mimblewimble, of Segwit, but these traders, they don't have any clue what they are discussing. They are discussing transaction per second, proof of stake, they're discussing blockchain size, but they don't have the slightest clue. They're just repeating buzzwords. So you have this information asymmetry. Then you have what I often mention, which is the shock of Bitcoin about your reality filters, your reality heuristics. So when you start with Bitcoin, you think that's impossible. Then Bitcoin shows. I mean, if you are a sane person, if you are a knowledgeable person, usually you are skeptical about Bitcoin initially. Then Bitcoin breaks your skepticism, and then your skepticism is broken, and now everything can enter. You don't have a filter anymore, because if Bitcoin was possible, then everything else, which is a little bit Bitcoinish, must also be possible. So in this context where Doge is now pumping and people is celebrating the pump of a joke, it's not strange that, as we discussed, Trace Mayer can pump Mimblewimble coin, or Richard Haar pump Hex. I mean, there's still people believing into Bitcoin Satoshi's vision, even after Craig Wright is basically ridiculing himself in any possible way. You really have to look at this market and ask yourself, what can be possibly more obvious than this? What can I do to show you that this is a joke? It's impossible.
Yeah, it is like there's like BSV is a really great example of that. I mean, how else how else can you get sucked into like a personality cult? I wonder what motivates those people, because some of them are smart people. Like some of the people that got sucked into BSV are actually probably like highly intelligent, and they just maybe they really did believe that Craig Wright was Satoshi, or I really find it hard to believe that they're all like on CoinGeek's payroll or something like that and being paid to shill BSV. Like some of those people are smart people, and what
Well,
fooled them into thinking that that was the creator of Bitcoin and that was going to be the next Bitcoin, the real Bitcoin? Like what makes someone smart believe that?
there are at least three kinds of payroll, maybe even four. The more obvious is a kind of payroll where somebody just pays you and you shield. This is probably the Kevin Farm
That's what
kind
people
of
were saying
payroll.
with Kevin Pham, that he
Yeah,
just got approached
that's
at a conference or something and they like
which is
put him
kind
on
of
the
obvious,
payroll.
right? That's very credible, right? It's like the direct payroll, and then you can understand that. Then there is something more indirect, which is very, very ubiquitous about shitcoins, which is an indirect profit if you shield a very, very illiquid asset. So this is crucially different from Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, I mean, we are all shielding Bitcoin, but the reality is that nothing I can do in my life can probably sensibly change my wealth in Bitcoin because I pump it. At this point, the market size and the market depth of Bitcoin is such that nothing that I can single-handedly do is not that I give a great interview pumping Bitcoin and I can really feel the price change in the Bitcoin price. But with any kind of illiquid shitcoin, that's actually a thing. If you do an interview about whatever, the more shitty the coin, the more this works. And I mean, Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision, BSV, is a very good example of a market cap and a market depth that if you look at the actual exchange, liquidity is basically inexistent. That means that with a single announcement, press release, a random rumor, you can single-handedly change the perception of the market. So the pump and dump incentive, which is inexistent in normal forex market, you can, I mean, if you are not the president of the United States, if you are not the CEO of I don't know, British Petroleum, realistically you cannot pump the yen, the renminbi, pump the rubles, pump the Swiss franc, but you can single-handedly pump any shitcoin if you are even at least just a bit visible on Twitter or something.
I think that
That's
was
the
like
second kind of payroll.
that was more like bubble, you know, when it was a bubble, when it was like 2017 or 2015 or whatever. In 2018, 19, I don't think that worked very much. It used to be that somebody could change the logo of their coin and that would send it up 50%, or they would announce a new partnership with Google when really they're just using like Google's cloud service or something. That would send the coin up 100%, or some new advisor joins or something like that. It sends it up 20%. But then in the bear market, like most of those shenanigans kind of got, the market took care of that because there was no liquidity, like you said, and a lot of that stuff stopped working in the bear market. But now it
Yeah,
kind of does feel like we may be heading back into that territory again, and it'll be hard to
well,
see that stuff.
it's more selective, of course. You have to have, I mean, you have to take something, you have to take something probably in a more early stage, but it's indubitable that even in a bear market, Richard Hart could pump just, I mean, it was how much time ago? Maybe 6 months ago, 7 months ago. And it was
December.
a December, and it was a
Yeah.
bear market for sure.
Yeah.
And he single-handedly pumped a coin from zero to whatever to zero again, but just in time to pump and dump. And the same can be said about Mimblewimble coin that we were discussing about
Yeah,
Jason Elliott.
that's a pretty small coin. So that, for the context for anybody, if you know, this is probably going to be a podcast because we're already talking about
Okay,
interesting
okay,
things
well, no problem.
that I would love to have other people learn about.
And also, I mean, look at the Dogecoin. The news of Dogecoin started. The reason Dogecoin is pumping is some random news that happened yesterday. I don't even remember what was it. I read that there was some
Twitter
kind of,
or TikTok
yeah,
people
TikTok, right?
started like a buy Dogecoin, and if it gets to $1, we'll all be rich. And then, but then
Yeah.
also Scott Melker, who I've had on my show before, he's an altcoin trader, and he's got 100 and some thousand followers, and he tweeted that he was buying Dogecoin, and then between the TikTok thing and maybe him and other influencers tweeting about Dogecoin, it went up 30%.
So you see, still is not as efficient as in the bull market, of course. In the bull market, every kind of stupid thing you did, you could pump everything. Now it's more subtle. It's more, there is more friction, but still, it's still a reasonable thing to do, and it's another kind. So you can find a guy who is smart, who is maybe not on the payroll of Calvin Ayre directly, but he has vested interest into pumping a shitcoin, which cannot be said for Bitcoin. There's a very interesting point is that some people, some shitcoin apologists, they consider this argument symmetrical. I mean, you are just pumping your bags, I'm just pumping my bags. But the argument is not symmetrical at all because
Yeah, the assets aren't the same.
yeah, the assets are in the same, liquidity is in the same. If I think that Bitcoin is going to go down, it's not a problem for me. I can easily sell Bitcoin in order to buy a shitcoin. So that my idea informs my decision to keep Bitcoin. It's not the fact that I must keep Bitcoin that informs somehow my idea about Bitcoin. With the shitcoins, that's not the same thing because with shitcoins, you cannot easily sell if you are a shitcoin pumper with huge bags. There is no liquidity to sell those in order to acquire Bitcoin.
Yeah,
You
you have to
have
make the
first to
market
pump it.
yourself.
exactly.
Which
So
is
there
the
is huge
argument that you were
asymmetry.
using, that you were saying that what Trace did was immoral because he was like trying to create a market for Mimblewimble coin so that he could exit and dump on maybe noobs or people that he influenced towards
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
precisely. What I didn't like about Trace was especially that he did this, but this is also what Richard Hart did. It's not different. It's a typical shitcoin move. So that's, I mean, I don't like it. It's not about trading shitcoins. I find a shitcoin trader quite honest, because when you're trading a shitcoin, when you buy, what you're saying to the market is, I think this asset will go up. So if you buy a shitcoin, you think it will go up, and you are being honest with the market. And when you sell it, what you're telling the market is that I think this asset will go down. So a pure trader of shitcoins, I think it's completely honest with the others, because it's giving signals that are consistent with his knowledge. The problem is that a pumper is not a trader. A pumper is somebody which is buying and then giving a false signal to the market, a signal that he knows it's false, in order to be able to sell, while at the same time is saying the other people to buy. So I'm saying everybody, you should buy, so I can sell, I
Right.
can download my bag. So Trace was doing this, which is kind of the norm about shitcoiners, but it did two things that I consider even more serious. The second thing was, he prepared this pump with months of false propaganda about CoinJoin. There was something really strange about the way the Bitcoin handle and Trace in general were discussing CoinJoin. It's true that CoinJoin may have a risk, like you use CoinJoin and your account on an exchange get flagged. That's a risk, that's a cost that you may ponder. But it's also true that first, there is another symmetrical risk, which is you don't do CoinJoin, and now people within the exchange can know everything about your future and past expenses, which is a risk for your personal security as well. So it's not that not conjoining and leaving everything traced is not a risk.